from your mistakes.
Massive shout out to EA for letting me participate in this event. The reason I was in LA was to play Apex Legends Season 3 early, and this video is going to include everything you need to know. What weapons got buffed, what weapons got nerfed. It's not just weapons that got buffed and nerfed, it's also legends. Speaking of which, there's a new one, we're going to go over that. There's also a new weapon, which is a charge rifle. We're also going to go over that. There's just a bunch of stuff we need to get through in this video, so stick around because you don't want to miss out on anything. Let's kick it off with possibly the biggest change in Season 3. A brand frigging new map. I didn't expect them to do this so early. I expected them to continue to make slight changes similar to how Fortnite did, but I'm actually excited for this map. I played on it. It plays completely different to the other map, and you're gonna have to get used to it. We're all gonna have to learn to adapt. There's gonna be a lot of choke points. Like, a lot of the map is cut off, and it is slightly bigger than the other Apex map. Now, the only reason I know that is because that's what they told us. It looks and feels like the same size, but apparently it is bigger. There were rumors going around about fire and ice, but no one actually knew what it meant. And obviously, they meant the new map. We got the ice area, and we also have some lava/fire areas that are pretty friggin' cool. Now, I already know I'm going to miss the old map, but I'm excited to play on something that's fresh and new and interesting. Let me know what you guys think, but I think the new map is a good idea. Now, if you remember back to the start of Season 2, they did buff and nerf some weapons, but nothing major. This season, the nerf and the buff hammer was out stronger than ever before. And honestly, I think they did quite a good job at it. I think you're going to see a lot more variety this season than just R99s in the kill feed, because the God Gun has been nerfed. I'm sure most of you guys seen that coming from a mile away with how powerful that weapon was, but don't worry, if you love the R99 like me, it's still relevant. They did reduce its ammo clip, and they also increased the recoil a little bit, but nothing insane. It now has 26 rounds instead of 30 with a full magazine, so that's only 4 less bullets, and the recoil they added to it doesn't seem all that much. I had no problem controlling the recoil with the new R99, but it's definitely been changed and tinkered with a little bit, so you're probably not going to get as many cross-map lasers with the R99 that you're getting in Season 2. Now, another gun that I absolutely loved, but a lot of people hated dying to, was the longbow. We can all admit that gun was super strong. You could spam it pretty hard against your opposition, and they didn't stand a chance. So guess what? They reduced its fire rate so it no longer can spam anywhere near as much as it used to be able to, but it'll still be good as a sniper. Another thing they did to nerf the longbow a little bit was to get rid of Skull Splitter. There's no longer Skull Splitter in the game. There are some new attachments that we're going to get to in this video, but Skull Splitter is no longer one of them. Now, that is not the only thing missing from the game. Disruptor rounds are now gone. Something I don't know how I feel about. I know 99% of the community will be like, yes, disruptor rounds, I hated them, they're gone, let's go, let's go. Like, so many people would be pumped over that, but at the same time, the alternator brought a meta shift. What's going to compete with the R99 now that the alternator doesn't have disruptor rounds? Yes, the R99 got nerfed, but I just see it dominating close quarter combat even more so than it did last season. Even though they had good intentions by removing disruptor rounds, because a lot of people hated it, me included sometimes, I think they need to buff the alternator to make it still a viable up-close weapon, maybe increase the damage by nothing crazy like 1 or 2. Now, does anyone remember that gold gun they added that nobody really uses? Yes, the L-Star. It has received a massive buff on all fronts. The projectile size has been increased, which is going to make it easier to hit targets. Its recoil has been decreased, so it's going to have less recoil now, and it'll be easier to control. And last but not least, its damage has been increased. With all these buffs, I think the L-Star might be a dominant weapon, but we're going to have to wait and find out because I didn't get the chance to use it, and I don't think anyone did, because not every weapon was available to us in the testing. Now, this next change I don't agree with at all, and I know most of you guys know that I'm not scared to say my opinion, and they nerfed the Prowler. What the hell? Now, the R99, what do you mean? Is definitely the best time to kill weapon. The Prowler was awesome fun, but it never had the insane time to kill. It was just a fun weapon to mix it up, and it could be very good. And they increased its goddamn recoil. Now, it probably wasn't by that much, but if anything, I think the Prowler needed to be buffed. more weapons that you can use that are viable to slay is definitely a good thing, and I don't think anyone can argue with that. So I definitely do not agree with that nerf whatsoever, and hopefully they realize they made a mistake and they'll change it in the near future, because not everything is set in stone. As soon as we get the chance to play and test things, I'm sure a lot more changes will happen, just like in Season 2 when they nerfed the R301. They're not afraid to do changes mid-season, and I'm hoping the Prowler gets a buff, if anything, but we'll see how it all plays out. Now, another one that you might think is weird is the Hemlock Rate of Fire got nerfed. You're probably thinking, what? Like, nobody uses the Hemlock. But it's actually a good thing. Hear me out on this one, because they increased its damage. Hopefully the damage increase is enough to make the Hemlock a good weapon again. I remember back in Season 1, I used to think it was the best gun in the game, but then I realized there's a lot of guns that killed quicker. And while the Hemlock is really good for like low recoil, long range, it really just didn't compete with other guns in how quickly it kills. So hopefully this buff and nerf make the Hemlock a god gun. That's what I'm hoping for. It'd be enjoyable to use next season, but I didn't really get the chance to try that one out too much. So we're gonna have to wait and find out. Now, other guns that got buffed was the G7 Scout damage got a buff. So it's now going to do more damage, which I think is a good thing, because the G7 Scout isn't a bad weapon, but it could definitely do with a little bit of tweaking. Also, the Mozambique spread and recoil has been buffed. So the Mozambique might be a bit better, but I think all shotguns are going to be a bit better this season, because they increased every shotgun's pellet size. So hopefully that means no more 8 damages or very rare 8 damages with the Peacekeeper that I think you guys can all remember and hate the moments that happens. I think this might be a good buff if it makes shotguns slightly more consistent, but not overpowered. Also, sniper projectiles have been increased at range. It's not going to make sniping easier at close ranges, but at really long ranges, I'm not exactly sure how far. The snipers are going to be easier to hit them shots. We all know if a target's really far away, they're sometimes hard to hit. So hopefully this makes sniping more viable at longer ranges. Now that's all the buffs and nerfs we know about at the moment to weapons. Let's get into the new attachments they added in. The first one's a rare one because it's gold, and it's called the double tap. You can put this on the flatline and the R301, and it completely changes the weapon in my opinion. Instead of shooting one shot with this attachment on, it shoots 2 shots at a time. You can swap back to full auto, but the double tap is interesting because it shoots both the shots at literally the same time, technically doubling the damage per bullet, which is pretty crazy. It turns like a flatline into more like a wingman, which, I don't know, it's sort of crazy and a lot of fun. In the right hands, this could be very powerful if you got the accuracy to back it up. The reason they made a lot of these buffs and nerfs, they said, because they wanted to encourage long-range engagements. Because we all know most of the fights in Apex end up getting barrel stuffed by an R99 and rushing your opponent. And they want to make long-range engagements more viable and happen more often. So I definitely think this is going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out and if their plan actually works. The next attachment is very similar, but it's purple and works a little bit different. It shoots 2 consecutive shots instead of like 2 as in 1 bullet, which is very weird and I think going to be very viable. You can put it on the G7 Scout and the Eva. I should have some good gameplay out with it soon because I was a triggered trash kid and died with it at the event.
He's down, he's down, he's down. Let's go, baby. Alright, let's try this new double tap out. Yo, that's wild.
Now, by now, you probably want to know, is Crypto any good? And I did play with him a little bit at this event, but I'll let my teammates use him more because they seem to enjoy him more. But I think Crypto is going to be a crazy good legend for normal Apex games and possibly even in competitive as well. Now, you always have this drone. Even when it runs out or you go too far and you want to get out of it, you instantly have it again. This drone by itself can ping enemies and scout, but the real power behind this drone is its ultimate. You can stun enemies, gluing them to the spot and destroy gas traps, wats and ults, everything in one go and get easy free kills. So if a team is camping on you, it's going to be very strong. It won't be that useful if you're getting rushed unless you can get to a safe spot and use it, because it does take some time to deploy and you have to drive it over in the location of the enemies. Keep in mind that it can be shot out of the sky, but if you dodge around with it, it's going to be hard to hit. Unfortunately, I got flanked and died, so I didn't get any crazy good gameplay with him. But you already know there's going to be gameplay with Crypto coming at the start of Season 3, which is just around the corner. Now, all the Pathfinder mains are going to be crying, me included. Pathfinder's grapple got nerfed. It's now a slow poke and you get lasered out of the sky a lot more often. They definitely slowed it down. People that don't use Pathfinder won't notice it as much, and it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's no longer as quick. You can't just snap grapple away and be a hard to hit target as much anymore. And it also takes longer to earn the zip line, which isn't the biggest nerf in the world. Wraith technically got tiny bit nerfed. If you knock a Wraith when she's doing a portal, the portal doesn't land where you knock her, it disappears. But that's really not a nerf. That's just a minor change and not one that's going to impact the game that much. Also, Gibraltar got buffed, but don't worry, it's not his health again. His dome shield now makes it easier to heal. You heal faster inside the Gibraltar dome shield, and apparently the bombardment got buffed. I don't know how much so, but it did get buffed a little bit, and we're gonna have to wait to find out what they exactly did with that. Bloodhound, it's now easier to call in his abilities and his ultimate. It does it much faster, so you can do it in combat. And Bangalore's Rolling Thunder got buffed, but I haven't got much information on that just yet. They're all the legend buffs, but another big change is gold armor is now the gold backpack. You heal faster with gold armor now instead of the gold backpack, and the gold backpack now revives your teammates with extra health and shield. I'm not exactly sure how much extra health and shield, but their roles have been reversed, which is a super weird change, but gold armor was sort of useless. Nobody did finishes because it was way too risky, so I like the fact that they buffed the gold armor, and now that the gold backpack does something super cool as well, you're definitely going to be able to troll some enemies by reviving your teammate, and they won't be expecting him to have more than 30 health. And yeah, I don't know, this is a good change. The gold items now do better stuff, which I think is super interesting. Another cool thing they added is a gold room full of gold loot that we couldn't get inside no matter how hard we tried. I don't know if it just wasn't available in the version we tried and it'll be easy to get into when it releases, but I think you might need a key or something. There's also loot ticks that fly around and you gotta time shooting them when they're gold to get gold loot. Anyway, that is all we know about Season 3 so far. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, I would appreciate it if you could drop a like on this one. And if you're new around here, definitely hit that subscribe button to stay up to date and entertained on Apex. Or if you hate me, just leave the video now. Go away. Why are you even here? Anyway, peace out, bros. Have a wonderful day.